Good day to all of us students and teachers. Before we proceed to our discussion, I will ask one question that is related to our topic. What is your idea when you hear the word Chinese art? I will give you 1 minute to formulate your idea, and for those students who are watching this video, please comment your answer in the comments section. We proceed to our discussion, and our topic for today is Chinese art. China is at the forefront of economic development that guide modernization, especially in terms of cultural development. And during the Zhou dynasty, it was under a feudal type of social system. It was a period in which culture, particularly art, and developed greatly. During this period, metalwork befitting the royal family was produced in abundance, and Confucianism was the dominant way of life of the general public. And those who subscribes the principle exposed by Confucius believed that in order for the society to function, and one must learn how to empathize with others. This principle became apparent in the most artwork depicting everyday life and how this social interaction play out. Beginning in the 6th century, Chinese art that emphasized with their own culture, and most of their paintings were done or made in monument style, wherein rocks and mountains serve as a barrier. This can make the viewer distracted initially from the main subject of their work. And also, artists use sharp brush stroke to provide the details in their work. One of the commonly used items to make decorative ornaments such as vases and jars is porcelain. Some of their artifacts from excavation sites show the intricate works of the Chinese in these porcelain vases, and their central theme is nature. They believe that man is an integral part of nature, ensuring that there is a certain balance in it. Additionally, some of the common overarching themes of Chinese artwork: life, war, and violence, death, and also nature. We proceed to the history of China. First, Neolithic pottery. During this period, life was simple. The people in ancient China spent their lives in farming and caring for their animals. The art during the Neolithic period has been classified into a mosaic of 22 regional cultures by archaeologists. According to archaeological findings, art in ancient China began to take shape around 7,500 BC. The first evidence of pottery in ancient China seen in 18,000 BC, which was ahead of their ancient civilization, and it has evolved with time. Around 400 BC, this is the time that colored ceramic art started to appear in China. Involved a series of 4 steps which are forming, firing, decorating, and refining. This time, I will present some of the example art during the Neolithic period. Second, jade culture. Jade is a popular choice of material for artwork, and it was more than a stone in ancient China. It was symbol of immorality, nobility, and constancy, and the Chinese considered it to be the essence between heaven and earth. In ancient China, heaven was considered to be round, and the earth was considered to be square, and the hole in the center of many jade ornaments known as epai. It was created to honor the gods in heaven, and the rectangle side was called shung, and was created to honor the earth. The evidence of the use of jade was found in the Yangtze River Delta during the Linshu cultural period. The large pieces of ritual jade such as bidis, U-axis, and Kong cylinder were popular. This art also featured different animals such as turtles, birds, and fish. And the manufacture of jade began to rise during the Shan Dynasty, when the Chinese had the technology to efficiently craft every imaginable object from jade. I will present some of the example of art during the jade culture.
The third one is Han art. During the Han Dynasty, ancient Chinese art reached its peak. The Han Dynasty was also known as the Golden Age for Chinese art, and included music, literature, and poetry, as well as the visual arts. The Han Dynasty also witnessed the development of tomb art, where art was created exclusively for funerals. During the Han Dynasty, there was also a massive growth in bronze sculpture. Archaeologists discovered a bronze horse in the 2nd century BC towns of Canada. Miniature bronze statues of social figures were also common, and lamps with gilded bronzeware and decorated mirrors were another feature of the Han Dynasty. Example: the invention of paper, the suspension bridge, deep drilling in the wheelbarrow. The fourth one is Gu Kaizi paintings. Gu Kaizi was a painter and author of several books on painting, which became the inspiration for later Chinese scholars and painters. His art still flourishes today through copies of self-scroll paintings. He was known for the embellishment of the eyes in portrait painting, and later, his graphics techniques became a central feature of traditional Chinese painting. Most of his paintings involve self and polychrome. Examples of his artwork are The Nymph of the Low River, Wise and Benevolent Woman, and The the admonitions of the instructors to the court ladies. The fifth one is the Buddhist architecture and sculpture. During the Jin period, Buddhist writing emerged and many Buddhist scriptures were translated. The legacy of Buddhism in China has led to one of the most extensive collections of Buddhist art in the world. This can be seen in famous sculptural sites such as the Mugao Caves, the Longmen, and the Bingling Temple. Sample of architecture, the design and construction of the Sears Tower. Example of sculpture, a clay statue of a famous figure.
So after the Buddhist architecture and sculpture, let us now proceed to the sixth history of Chinese art, which is the cloisonne. Cloisonne is an art technique that is mainly used to decorate metal objects or ceramics. It derived its name from the French word cloison for compartment or partition. Cloisonne enameling is a three-stage process. First, flat metal strips or wire made of gold, silver, brass, or copper are soldered onto the surface of the metal object being decorated so as to create tiny mini-walled cellular compartments. Next, these partition compartments are filled with either inlays of cut gemstones or other precious materials, or with colorful vitreous enamel paste. Finally, the whole construction is fired in kiln, given a smooth finish and polished. Some of the examples are the foliated dish with floral scrolls. This lovely scallop dish depicts stylized lotus scrolls set in a swirling circular rhythmic pattern. The surfaces of this dish feature vivid colors like red, yellow, lapis blue, white, and green, set against a turquoise blue background. Another example is the dongqing. This is a long trumpet played for preludes, processions, and morning and evening calls to prayer. Number 7 history of Chinese art is the landscape paintings. Ancient Chinese landscape painting began as a way to narrate stories and poems. The first evidence of this art dates back to the Han Dynasty, 1206 BCE to 220 CE, in which man was the central part of every work. There were two distinct techniques that were popular in China. First is the paintings of mountains. Mountains were associated to the divine as they reached to the skies, and along with clouds and fog, the scenarios would represent the void, a key concept in Chinese art. Example of this painting are the work of Fan Quan, called The Travelers Among Mountains and Streams, and the masterpiece of Gao Xi, called The Early Spring. The other technique is the paintings of rivers and hills. Examples of these are the work of Dung Yuan, called The River Bank, and Wintry Groves and Blizzard Banks. Number 8 is the poetry. Classical Chinese poetry originated during the Han Dynasty from 206 BC to 220 AD. Xu Yuan, a poet of the Chu state, 4th century BC, wrote Chu Si, Elegies of Chu, pioneering a unique form of classical Chinese poetry, both romantic and mythological. The earliest Chinese poetry begins with the Shi Qing, a collection of 305 poems of varying length, drawn from all ranks of Chinese poetry. The title Shi Jing is usually translated in English as the Books of Songs or sometimes as the Odes. Other examples are the Midnight Songs of Wu, Seven Sieges of Bamboo Grove, and the Orchid Pavilion of Gathering. Poetry had a very important role in the Chinese world of morality and governing. It was the most revered form of writing. It is a direct reaction to the world and a vessel of shared emotion.
Okay, so let's proceed to the Chinese music. The Chinese music is considered as the ancient ones that is based on the doctrines of some Chinese philosophers like Confucius. And Confucius has a famous lines that is, to educate somebody, you should start with the poems, emphasize ceremonies, and finish it with music. That is the line of Confucius that is based on music. And in Chinese music notes, there is what they call loose and pentatonic, which is a 5-tone scale, which includes the 5-tone scale includes the Kung, Shang, Xiao, Qi, and the Yu. Under the vocal forms is the poetry, the singing, and the opera, which is the very sophisticated ones because Chinese is mostly known to perform the opera. Their vocal style also is in a high pitch and it can be performed by a male. And when they are singing, the airway is through the nose. Their performances may include the acrobats, the dancers, the colorful costumes, and the dramatic effects on the stage, which means their emotions. And their costumes is very important. Their folk music may include dance pieces with lively melodies, rhythms and lyrical. Lively melodies has an example like the opening tune of the Henan Opera and the occasionally the erotic songs like love songs and romantic songs. They have erotic song back then like the 18 Touches, which is the traditional folk song that is flirtatious, bawdy, erotic in nature, but it was banned numerous times because of its vulgarity and tasteless. So, in Chinese musical instruments, they have 8 materials used in creating their instruments. This includes the bamboo, the wood, the silk, gourd, stone, metal, skin, and clay. And their instruments can be played by solo, ensemble, or a large group orchestra in a court. Like for example, the music ensemble. And then they have 4 characteristics of instrument. First is the bowed instrument. Under this is the erhu, which is a 2-string fiddle and one of the most popular Chinese instruments. Okay? Second characteristic is the pluck instrument. Under this is 4 types of instrument. The first one is the pipa, which is a 4-string lute with 40 frets and a pear-shaped body. As shown in the picture, you can see that it is pear-shaped. Next is the zeng. Okay, zeng, it has a 13 to 21 strings that is stretched over individual bridges. Next is the guqin. The guqin, as shown in the picture, the guqin, it is a 7-string zither without bridges, and it
is the most ancient Chinese instrument with over 3,000 years in history. Okay? It is the guqin. The guzheng. The guzheng. The guzheng is a large 18 to 23 strings, usually played by a female, and it is usually played in streets and parks that accompanies opera and concert performances like the musical ensemble. Next is the wind. Next characteristic is the wind instruments. Under this is also 4 types of instruments, like for example the dizi. The dizi is a bamboo instrument with 6 finger holes, and wind instrument may include flute like that. Next is the xiao. The xiao is a vertical end blow flute made from bamboo, and it is usually used to accompany a long, quiet, and sentimental music. It's an instrument for making you sleep or emotional songs. Okay? Next is the sona. It is a vertical end blow flute made from bamboo. The same with the xiao, it is used to accompany long, quiet, and sentimental music. Last is the sheng. The sheng is a mouth organ with 12 to 36 bamboo pipes, and it can play a melody or a chords simultaneously. Simultaneously is the same. At the same time, it can play a melody or a chord at the same time. Last characteristic is the percussion. Under the percussion is 2 types of instrument, and first type is the qing. It is a small cymbals. It gives signal to the entrances and endings of a composition. Okay. Next is the yu. The yu is a tiger-like animal resting on a sounding box. It is played to mark the end of the strophe. And Confucius again has a written piece, and it is in this one it is considered as old piece of music of the ancient China, which is the Youlan, or a solitary orchid. It is written by Confucius. Okay, so let's proceed to the greatest invention of ancient China, which is the silk. And the Chinese silk is discovered by Empress His Lingxi in 27th century before Christ. Do you know that the silk is expensive in China? Since it is from silkworms. And silkworms, you know silkworms? It is here in the picture. Silkworms can only have 28 days lifespan, and one silkworm can produce 1,000 meters of silk. That's why many industries in China take good care of silkworms so that they will produce silk. During the Neolithic period, silk is dominantly used by emperors and high-class society, while the poor people wear loose-fitting clothes so that they will be comfortable in working in the field. Okay? And silk is usually used in clothes. That is given in clothes. is usually used in the different variety sectors such as fishing, riding, music, and clothing. Well, I said silk is used in clothing. So you may be thinking, how can the silk be used in music? Of course, in making the instrument, like the erhu, the string of the instrument is silk. While in writing, the paper is made from silk, and in fishing, the net is made from silk. That is how silk useful in the China. Okay? So Chinese art history includes all art originated in China, produced by Chinese culture and artists. It features a variety of styles, from Neolithic pottery to calligraphy to painting to poetry, porcelain, bronze work, jade carving, and etc. That is the Chinese art culture. Okay. So before I end the lesson, do you have any questions? If you do have, please comment down below and we would be happy answering your questions, replying them. Okay? So that's it for now, and please do subscribe and like this video. Oh, I forgot, you have a quiz. I will attach the link under the description box, and please do answer it after watching this video.